What's going on, everybody? How is it going? Today we are going to be talking about portable game notation, and we're going to be starting to write a parser for the PGN to get the data out of here that we really want. So in case you didn't watch the last video or you've forgotten, we're getting the data from lichess.org. That's the database site that we're pulling all these files from, and this is the general format of what this looks like. And so we're going to have to write a parser that will go through and pull each of those pieces out from those individual lines. So there are a number of things that we do want in here and a number of things that we don't want in here. So for example, we do want the result. We do want to know who won, who lost. We do not want to know the date that it was played on or the time that the game started. That's not really an important component to us. We're going to look at the white ELO, black ELO. We're going to look at time control, and I think that is it, okay, in terms of the headers, okay? But then when we go down below, we've got the actual moves, and we're going to be parsing for the evaluation and for the clock, okay? So eval and clock, and we're probably going to use some regular expressions in here in order to do that. So that's where we're going to start, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a parser, and I'm going to use the D language, which I'm a big fan of. So let's come in here. We've got our same bash file as before. We've got our raw data file. Let's do a dub init here, JSON. Actually, let's cancel that. Let's make a directory that's called pgn parser here. Okay, cd pgn parser, and we're gonna dub init in here. JSON pgn parser. Sure, we'll keep everything there. ASDF. I do know that I want to use that in terms of potentially moving that along to the JSON L file format if we decide to go that route. Okay, so I'm going to open up this directory in Sublime. There we go. Oh, that is not helpful. There we go. Okay. So if we come into the source, here's our app. We've got our void main, right line, edit source.app to start your project. So that's where we're at right here. Let's convert indentation to spaces because I like that better. Okay. Not that it matters in D. If you're not familiar with D, I do recommend that you check it out. I'm a huge fan. The syntax is actually fairly similar to C or C++, but there are going to be some things that I really like in here that almost remind me of how I write in Python. So that's why I'm picking D in this case, plus I've got a little bit more experience with it than with either C or C++. So to start off with, we know that we're going to have a file that's going to be the import, right? The input, I should say. So we're going to have a file that's going to we're just going to call pgn file. This is going to be file args. Oh, we need to make sure that we've got args here, which is going to be string as an array args. And we've got those args. We're going to take the first arg, and that's going to be a read, and there we go. So this will accept args on the command line, and the very first argument in the as part of the command line is going to be what the file is that we want to process. What this is going to allow us to do is in our parent directory, right? We've got this download uncompressed. Well, we can create a master bash file that will go through and run the download uncompressed and then run the entire process using the pgn parser on each of those individual files that we've already uncompressed. We might actually just be able to remove this bash file and integrate it all together. So that might be the goal there. So let's go back into the pgn parser. So we've got the pgn file right here. We're going to pass in the the location of the file. Let's see here. So the next thing that we're going to need to do is we're going to need to parse out an actual game and what that actual game looks like. So there are a number of headers. We'll build functions for looking up headers, and we'll build functions for parsing out the moves. So why don't we just outline that right now, okay? So let's go in here and let's take a look-sees at the header value. So string parse header value, okay? And we've got a string which we're going to assume is the input line. Okay. And for right now, I'm just going to return an empty string so that it doesn't throw me an error. We're going to parse the header, string parse header, and we're going to parse the header key, string, input line, and we're just going to return an empty string there. We also do need to, since we're going to be iterating through the entire file, we're going to need to just check whether or not it actually is a header line. So we do know that every header line is going to begin with that, with this particular brace. I guess it's a brace, isn't it? So this will actually be a bool is header. We're going to have the string input line, and we're going to say int line start is to int, because we need to take the input line dot index of this. Okay. Basically, we need to check the start of the line, and we need to assume we need to find whether or not there actually is that particular value on the line. And if it is at the very start, then we want to return true. So return line start is 0. So we want to return that this particular value is in fact 0. And let's not forget semicolon. Okay, so yeah, I'm getting an error here that I need. I don't have to defined. Okay, so I'm going to have to import .conv to. There we go. Okay. Okay, next. What's next? So the next thing we'll need to do is test whether or not this is a move text. Okay, I'm actually going to move this up ahead, because the very first thing we're going to do is check whether or not it's a header, right? And this will make more logical sense there. So is move text here string input line, and I'm actually just going to say input or just line. We'll just say line. It's just a line. So is it that, and we're going to do something that's actually very similar to what we did right here, except that we know that it's going to start with a 1 dot something, right? Or a number dot something. So in this case, we will need, let's say that it will start with a 1, okay? And we'll add some more language in here. What is wrong with this? Index for type string. Okay, we'll have to check that out and see what that error is, because that's should be able to check where it's located in a string. Okay, so that's the bool, and then we're actually going to have to parse the moves out of the text. So parse move, I don't know, let's say actually we'll create a struct actually that will have parse move text string, and that's going to be the line there, and this will return a struct move that we need to define. So we're going to have, let's just call this move, move output, and then we'll have return move output right there. So the struct doesn't really do anything right now. We'll need to add both the move and the game overall, because a game is going to have a certain number of moves, and we're going to build that in there as well. Okay, so let's struct game. We're going to have headers, which means that we're going to need a struct headers object. And let's say that we have a set of moves that are also part of the game. Okay, and then for each move, we're going to have a clock. So we're going to have a white clock, w clock. We're going to have a string b clock, because we want to keep track of both sets of times simultaneously. That's going to be part of the tricky part. We're going to have a evaluation. Evaluation should really be, no, it does need to be a string in case there is a checkmating move. Okay, so it does need to be a string. And then we need, well, I guess we don't actually need the move text. Okay, so we'll just have w clock, black clock time, and the eval. Perfect. We've got a game, and we've got a series of headers. Okay, so we're going to have let's just take these. We're going to do that, and we're going to comment them out. Okay, so we don't want site, we don't want black, we do want the result. So we're going to have string result. We're going to have a int white ELO. We're going to have an int black ELO. We're going to have string we might change this. We might change this afterwards. Currently, this comes in as a string, but I want to convert it to seconds, essentially, for being able to predict, for being able to look at how many seconds are left on the clock between the two different players. So I think I do, in fact, want that as an int, even though it comes in as a string, and we're going to have to then parse that. So we might need to build a function that does that. And we do need to have, so we don't need that. We've got that. We'll just keep these as templates of what this will actually look like. Okay, perfect. 0, 1 means black 1, 1, 0 means white 1, and then 1/2, 1/2 means that it was a draw. Okay, so those are the only headers that we're actually concerned about, and we're going to have to only and we only need to parse those particular headers, and then get the values for those particular headers. Okay, so let's begin by just iterating through the lines of the actual file. So we've got to start off by creating a game. We're going to just call this data. while, because we're going to append information to that game, so we've got an empty game as of right now, and we're going to say while pgn file .eof. So while we're not at the end of the file, we are going to iterate through the entire file. So we've got a string that's going to be a line that we're going to call line, and this is going to be strip in and file.read line. There we go. Yep, need to import string. There we go. That should, and that also took care of the index of problem as well. It's because we didn't have the right imports. If line dot, so if there's an empty line, this is the first thing that comes to mind, right? If it's an empty line, then we can just continue, right? We don't need to actually do anything to that line. So if line dot length equals 0, we're going to continue. Else if the what was I thinking here? I don't know what I was thinking. Cool. So if the line is empty, then we can just keep on going on. Okay. Then we need to add in a set of, we need to check whether or not it's a header, right? Is header line, so if that line, if is header line, there we go. Then what we need to do is we have a string, which is going to be the header key, and that's going to be the parse header key. And we're going to have a string that's the, oh, really shouldn't forget my semicolons. And then we've got the header value is going to be the parse header value of the line. There we go. Now, what's interesting is we might actually delay parsing the value based off the key, right? Because we actually only need to parse the value if it's specifically a certain set of keys that we're actually looking for, right? And that's these 4 keys right there. So what we're going to do is let's start off with, actually no, we'll just do this first, and we'll just say case, and we'll just create a case switch, right? So case, this is result, oh yeah, so switch is on the header key. Okay, so case result, what do we want to do? We want to say that the data.headers.result equals the header value, right? And then if we have case that it equals white, yellow, and then if we have case it equals black, yellow, and don't actually do that, but that's what I'm doing. Case, this is going to be time control. Okay, and we'll fill these each in with their component pieces, right? So this is no longer going to be oh, I need to add in a break. Okay, so this is going to be the white ELO, this is going to be the black ELO, and this is going to be the time control. Okay. This is going to be the header value. Perfect. Y is this going to be type string to int. Perfect. Okay, so we need to take the white ELO and convert this to an integer, which makes sense because we don't actually want the to int. And then this will also be a to int, and we need to do something special with this particular value, right? Because we now have a 300, so that's the number of seconds plus any additional time. So we need to actually parse out the number of seconds in there. So this will be to int header value dot split on the plus sign, and that will be the first one. So theoretically that will work. We'll actually see if that comes out correct. So at this point in time, we're gonna take a pause here. We're gonna actually get into parsing the header value and the header key next time, and then maybe even get into the parsing the move text. But for right now, I think we'll leave it there. Thank you very much. Have a great day. See you in the next video.